The morning office run for bagels is a sacred ritual, one that must be performed with the utmost care and attentiveness. If Brenda wants a poppy seed bagel with regular cream cheese, woe to whoever screws up that order. Johnny likes his bagels plain, and I mean plain. He knows if any butter or other substance has been within the 1-foot bagel zone. It used to be so bad that if it were even toasted, the bagel runner would be fired. Johnny was the office manager, and so you had to take special care of his bagel prep if you wanted to keep your job and most of your blood. Rhonda was an anomaly in this whole bagel paradox. She was just fine with whatever you would get her, grateful to be getting anything for breakfast, as she was barely scraping by to afford her rent, let alone the food. A few months ago during the bagel exchange, Pete mentioned that maybe the bagel fund could be pilfered to help out Rhonda. Let's just say they never found his head, right hand, or spleen. Now you may be wondering what is all so important about this mundane breakfast wheel. I need to share my story while I still can. I won't use my real name, as it's not really relevant to this story. I'll refer to myself as Tim. So, I started working here about 2 years ago, just before all of the bagel befuddlement began. I just couldn't stop myself from saying it. The baked donut debacle, whatever. Humor is the only way to survive in this cutthroat world of business. I started out as a secretary in the filing department, something that I now know is, if I hadn't taken the promotion to central operations, I could have been saved. The central ops department was the only department that had the privilege of daily morning bagels. I think that they garnish some of your salary to put into the bagel fund, something that only the designated bagel gopher is allowed to see. 1 year into my secretarial duties, I was approached by the office manager in the CO floor. He jabbered on and on about how they were keeping close tabs on me, impressed by my work, etc. He eventually leveled the cryptic conversation with a request that I join the CO family. I was reluctant, as I had heard rumors about what goes on the 17th floor, and it was about another 5 persuasive minutes and the offer of bagels that swayed me. One thing I found odd, however, was that when I inquired of the rumors, hoping to put my mind to rest, Johnny never really tried to defend any such reputation. I didn't really get involved with the bagel process until about 6 months ago. One morning, Pete pulled me aside and asked me if I wanted to know the truth about the daily bagels, and indeed, I was curious, but didn't want to read too much into the schematics of the why of the bagels, just the how. He looked at me dead serious and then nodded. We took the elevator down to the sub-basement, below the underground parking, and the doors opened to a rather unremarkable-looking bagel shop. I'll never forget the first time I noticed the name of the shop, filling me with a rather silly sense of dread. H&H Bagels, that was it. In retrospect, the silliness of the dread I experienced became completely rational when I learned what H&H stood for. Help and harm. Now, before you get some insane mental image of human parts being mixed in with the bagel dough or some sacrificial ritualistic witchcraft involving round, holed, cursed objects, try to act your age. This is all about the bagels and nothing more. Just plain old round, simple, and delicious bagels. If you think otherwise, then maybe you shouldn't be out in society. Whatever, I guess I'm a bit off topic with this rant, but still completely on topic with the bagels. We stood at the counter, and I could see no attendant in sight, so I was a little confused. At the same moment, Pete removed a long list of paper from his jacket. A small keyboard extended out from an unknown point on the cash register. He put on his reading glasses and began to type. The screen above the keyboard showed me the order of the inputs. Here's an example of Janine's order. Name, Janine Clark. Bagel type, whole grain. Topping, butter and raspberry jam. Toasted? Yes. Condition number, 0340ZZX4D5A. Once Pete finished the order and pressed enter, the strangest thing happened. It was as if the employees in the bagel shop were wearing some sort of camouflage that helped them completely blend into the equipment. I could see movement as what looked to be the mixer shot a clump of brownish-white dough onto a spindle in the center of a medium-sized bowl. The spindle began to rotate, almost as if it were a centrifuge, and gradually the bagel began to take shape. When it was finished it slid into an oven where it baked for maybe 2 minutes. It then fell out of the oven and into a speed slicer, which sliced it into perfect halves. Those perfect halves were dropped into the toaster and dealt with appropriately. While all of this was happening, Pete continued to type in names and bagels, etc., and by the time we walked back towards the elevator, only 10 minutes had elapsed. It was quite the sight, seeing all of these bagels being made in a fast-forwarded manner. I almost wish I had the guts to film the process, as I wanted to see what was actually going on behind the blur. I had noticed something in one of the mid-production bagels, something that concerned me, but I didn't question it at the time. Every 3 seconds or so during the centrifuge process, I would see a blurb of color appear on the edges of the bagel, but be almost instantly sucked into the middle. I'm quite glad that I didn't film the bagel process, because, well, I might not be here to tell my story if I had filmed it. I only accompanied Pete to H&H Bagels one more time before he was toasted, and from that point forward, I began to understand just what was going on at H&H, and why I needed to do something about it. Nothing more sinister than the last visit happened while I was in there, but I noticed Pete looked quite panicked as he typed in his own order. I raised my eyebrow when I saw what he had typed. Name, Pete Killingsworth. Bagel type, cinnamon raisin. Topping, P3E1 butterscotch. Toasted, no. Condition, 000. Pete always ordered the same bagel. Cinnamon raisin, butter, toasted. Now here he was, ordering something completely bizarre, but now I think I get what was going on. You see, the bagel gophers always have a certain something, a lenience on typing in the condition and topping, and when I saw what he had typed for the topping, I was confused. Now looking back, hindsight is 20/20. Before I reveal what the P3E1 stood for, I will tell you why the free-thinking bagel anarchists, such as Rhonda, were so rare to find on the 17th floor. People are encouraged to maintain a consistent bagel regimen, same type, topping, yada yada yada, and if they don't, they are put on the flagged list. There are only 2 reasons why someone ends up on the flagged list. Reason A, they will be promoted to high-level management, or B, their time is limited. The first time I became aware of the list was when I nearly ended up on it. One day, I decided I was tired of the same old bagel. Everything, not toasted, orange marmalade, and decided to go bold. Plain, toasted, cream cheese. I was lucky that Johnny noticed the change in my bagel preference and approached me. He asked me why I didn't get my usual bagel, and so I just told the truth. I'm sick of my usual bagel. I wanted to try something different. He gave me an unreadable look, and then told me of the flagged list, and told me why I was lucky I wasn't on it. Then he dropped the bomb. Pete hadn't returned from the morning bagel business, but the bag of bagels had mysteriously appeared in the meeting lounge right on time as usual. I knew something was up when I asked if I wanted to be the new bagel boy, and so, fearing the consequences of declining the offer, I gave in and accepted. The next morning, I made my way to the elevators at 8 a.m. sharp. I didn't want to have the bagels in late, and seeing as this was my first time, I didn't want to goof on anything. Things went well, but in the back of my mind, I was still worried about Pete. Now, here's something you'll need to know about a bagel gopher's topping selections. They get a little bit of extra on, or in, their bagels. A gopher's order looks like this. Name, Tim King. Bagel type, everything. Topping, V2I33 orange marmalade. Toasted, no. Condition number, 12P5P9901W. The job of bagel gopher is very stressful, so here's what the codes mean. The first letter is the substance, V for Valium. The number is how many milligrams times 100 are in each dose. I for injection, the method it's introduced into your bagel, and how many times you receive the substance in your lifetime. So I got 200 milligrams of Valium injected into my bagel, and this is the 33rd time I've ever taken it. So now let's apply it to Pete's order. P for pain meds, 3 milligrams times 100, E for expanding, and 1 for time. He knew that he was going to die a slow and painful death, and he wanted to leave in peace without any pain. I guess I forgot to mention what the condition number is all about. When each employee in the CO department is hired, they go through a rigorous screening process, the key portion of the process being a detailed psychoanalysis. Every condition number is unique to each employee, and before you ask, I have no idea what all the random letters and numbers mean. What I can tell you is, I wasn't just seeing things when I first saw the centrifuge process. Turns out, different types of meds are mixed into each bagel, the types administered coinciding with the condition number code. A new employee, Ben Fox, started here yesterday. I could see myself in him, and so I decided to let him come along with me to H&H Bagels to see the process for himself. Oh, did I tell you? Rhonda was promoted to senior executive, which came as quite a surprise to all of us. I've been a little naughty, screwing with everyone's order, typing 0 in condition number slot. The only condition number I knew for sure is 0, which means no medication is mixed into the bagels. The team on the 17th floor has changed quite a bit since I first started screwing around with things, and that's a change for the better. Everyone is happier, has better ideas, and is far more creative in the production process. The only way that I've gotten away with this is because Rhonda is one of the higher-ups. She was one of us, and had figured out how to manipulate the system to serve the greater good. I don't know if I've been placed on the flagged list, and I don't think I want to know. By showing Ben the ropes of the bagel business, I think maybe he'll take the hint and try and continue my work if anything should happen to me. At least I know I'm leaving this place in good hands once I hand in my letter of resignation. I've told a few coworkers of my plan to quit, and they all seem to be worried about me. I guess no one ever thought to quit this job, or otherwise you're not allowed to quit and things will go quite badly for you. Like a bagel, everyone's life goes round, but most people have a hole they just can't fill. Maybe I changed that, at least for the people in the CO department on the 17th floor. My only regret is that never mind. Time for me to do the bagel run. Everyone's order is entered, except for mine. Name, Tim King. Bagel type, poppy seed. Topping, HCl 3OS0, none. Toasted, yes. Condition number, ?